Han Sol wiped the sleep from his eyes as he stared at the quantum beacon's display screen. The numbers didn't make sense. He had checked them 3 times already, but they still showed impossible readings. The space lighthouse on Flannan Isles wasn't supposed to pick up signals like these. Jeho, he called out to his first assistant, "Come look at this." The steady hum of machinery filled the circular control room as Jeho walked over. Outside the reinforced windows, stars dotted the endless black of space. The lighthouse's powerful quantum beacon pulsed steadily, guiding ships safely through this dangerous sector. "What's wrong?" Jeho asked, leaning over Han Sol's shoulder. His eyes widened as he saw the readings. "That can't be right. Those patterns, they look almost like someone's trying to talk back to us." Han Sol finished. He ran his hand through his graying hair, a habit when he was worried. "Get Taiwan up here. He needs to see this too." Their youngest crew member arrived minutes later, still pulling on his uniform jacket. The 3 men stood in silence, watching the strange patterns pulse across the screen. In their 5 years of operating the lighthouse, they had never seen anything like it. Could it be a malfunction? Taiwan asked, adjusting the controls. "Maybe the sensor array needs recalibration." Han Sol shook his head. "I already checked. All systems are working perfectly." He pointed to a particular pattern on the screen. "Look at how organized these signals are. This isn't random space noise or equipment failure." Jeho moved to the main communication console. "We should report this to Space Fleet Command." His fingers flew over the keys, but the screen remained dark. He frowned and tried again. "The comm system isn't responding." "Try the backup channels," Han Sol ordered, walking to another station. But every attempt at communication failed. They were cut off. Taiwan looked nervously at the windows. Could it be related to those lights we saw last week? "What lights?" Jeho asked sharply. I didn't report it because I thought I was seeing things," Taiwan admitted. "During my night shift, I saw strange lights out in the void, like ribbons of color, but they disappeared when I tried to record them." Han Sol was about to respond when the quantum beacon's pulse suddenly changed. The steady rhythm they were all used to became erratic. The entire room hummed with energy they could feel in their teeth. "That's impossible," Han Sol whispered. "The beacon's power output is increasing, but I'm not doing anything." His fingers raced across the control panel, trying to regulate the system. The humming grew louder. Equipment started turning on by itself. Screens flickered with strange symbols none of them recognized. "We need to shut it down," Jeho shouted over the noise. "The whole system." Han Sol tried to reach the emergency shutdown, but his body felt heavy, like moving through water. He saw Jeho fall to his knees, while Taiwan pressed his hands against his ears, eyes squeezed shut. Through blurring vision, Han Sol saw something impossible. The space outside their windows wasn't black anymore. It rippled with colors that shouldn't exist. And in those colors, he saw patterns. The same patterns that had appeared on their screens. The last thing Han Sol remembered thinking was that he had been wrong all these years. The quantum beacon wasn't just a navigation tool. It was something far more ancient, far more powerful. And now it was waking up. Then the colors rushed in, and the 3 lighthouse keepers vanished, leaving behind only half-finished cups of coffee and chairs pushed back in haste. Commander Du Yun stood at the bridge of her patrol ship, staring at the distant glow of the Flannan Isles lighthouse. Its quantum beacon still pulsed, guiding ships through the dangerous space lanes, but something was wrong. The rhythm was off, like a heartbeat that had lost its steady pace. "How long since their last communication?" she asked. 72 hours, Commander," Lieutenant Yu Jin replied, checking her datapad. "The last automated status report came through 3 days ago at 200 hours. Nothing since then." Do Yun frowned. Space Fleet regulations required daily check-ins from all lighthouse stations. 3 days of silence was unprecedented. Any ships passed through this sector recently? Just one cargo vessel, but they reported nothing unusual. The beacon was functioning enough to guide them through. Do-Yun made her decision. Prepare a shuttle. You and Officer Sung-min will investigate. Full safety protocols. 20 minutes later, Yoo-jin and Sung-min docked with the Lighthouse. The airlock cycled normally, but the welcome lights didn't activate. They switched on their suit lamps and moved carefully into the station. Temperature normal. Air pressure normal. No signs of hull breach, Sung-min reported, checking his instruments. The main corridor led them to the control room. Everything was in place, except for what wasn't. 3 chairs pushed back from their stations, 3 half-drunk cups of coffee, the liquid long since gone cold. A jacket hung over a chair back. "Look at this," Yoo-jin called, examining one of the terminals. The system logs show a massive power spike 3 days ago, right when communications stopped. Sung-min moved to another station. The quantum beacon's output readings are strange. They're stable now, but these patterns, he shook his head. I've never seen anything like this. They continued their search. The sleeping quarters were untouched. Personal items lay exactly where their owners had left them. Han Sol's tablet still displayed a half-finished message to his daughter. Jaeho's bunk had a book lying open, its pages undisturbed. Taiwan's collection of old Earth movies sat neatly arranged on a shelf. In the kitchen, they found more signs of sudden departure. A pot of rice in the cooker, now spoiled. Vegetables half chopped on a cutting board. 3 bowls set out for a meal never eaten. No signs of struggle, Yoo-jin noted. No damage to any systems. They just vanished. Back in the control room, Sung-min discovered something odd. "Lieutenant, look at this footage." The security recording showed the 3 keepers at their stations, then strange lights flickering across the screen. The image distorted, filled with impossible colors, and when it cleared, the room was empty. "Play it again," Yoo-jin ordered. She watched carefully. Notice how they react. They saw something coming. They weren't surprised or afraid. They were fascinated. Their suit radios crackled with Commander Do-Yun's voice. "Report. No signs of forced entry or violence," Yoo-jin responded. "But we found something strange in the logs." The quantum beacon was receiving signals before the incident. Signals it shouldn't have been able to pick up. There was a long pause before Do-Yun spoke again. "Return to the ship. Bring all the data you can. I'm calling in the research division." This just became more than a missing persons case. As they prepared to leave, Yoo-jin noticed something scratched into Han Sol's console. Numbers and symbols, hastily carved with a sharp object. She took a photo, feeling that these might be the last words of the lighthouse keepers. Or maybe, she thought, they were instructions for finding them. Research Officer Mirai sat alone in the lighthouse's control room, surrounded by screens displaying Jaeho's personal log entries. She had been reading for hours, looking for clues about what happened to the 3 keepers. The earliest entries were routine. Weather reports, equipment maintenance, small talk between crew members. But 2 weeks before the disappearance, things changed. She read Jaeho's words carefully. Day 267. Han Sol saw something strange in the beacon readings today. He spent 6 hours checking the equipment, but found no problems. Taiwan thinks we're picking up signals from passing ships, but these patterns don't match any known communication formats. Day 270. The lights appeared again. Taiwan saw them first last week, but now we've all seen them. Like ribbons of color in space, but they vanish when we try to record them. Han Sol is excited, says they remind him of old stories his grandfather told him about ancient space travelers. Day 272. Equipment keeps turning on by itself. Found the coffee maker running at midnight when everyone was asleep. Star charts appear on screens we weren't using. Han Sol says it's all connected to the signals, but he won't explain how. Day 273. Found Han Sol in the control room at 300 hours. He wasn't sleeping again. His console was covered in calculations. When I asked what he was working on, he just smiled and said, "We built our lighthouse on top of something much older, Jeho. Something our ancestors left for us to find." Mayray paused the screen. She got up and walked to Hansol's station, examining the scratched symbols she had noticed earlier. They weren't random. They were coordinates, but not in any system used by the space fleet. She continued reading. Day 274. Hansol showed us his discovery today. The quantum beacon isn't just sending signals out. It's resonating with something that was already here. Some kind of network, he says, built long ago when humans first reached the stars. The lighthouse stations were built on these old sites without anyone knowing what lay beneath them. Day 275. The signals are getting stronger. Equipment activates randomly throughout the station. We see reflections in the windows that shouldn't be there. Not our reflections. Someone else's. Hansol says we're getting close to a breakthrough. The final entry was incomplete. Day 276. Hansol was right. The signals, the lights, the strange activity, it's all part of something bigger. The quantum beacon isn't just a navigation tool. It's a key, and we finally figured out what it opens. We're going to try to shut it down, but if something goes wrong, whoever finds this should know that we. The entry ended there. Mayray sat back, her mind racing. She reached for her communicator. "Commander Du Yun, I found something. The lighthouse keepers, they weren't taken. They found something. Something hidden in the quantum beacon network, something that's been waiting to be found for a very long time." She looked out the window at the endless starfield. Somewhere out there, 3 men had stepped through a door they'd discovered. Now she had to figure out how to open it again. But first, she needed to understand what Hansol had discovered about humanity's forgotten past. Lieutenant Yu Jin and Officer Sung Min walked slowly through the lighthouse's lower maintenance level. Their footsteps echoed against metal floors as they searched for anything unusual. "The building plans show nothing below this floor," Sung Min said, checking his tablet. "But Hansol's calculations keep referring to something underneath." Yu Jin stopped walking. She bent down to examine the floor plates. "Look at these marks. Someone's been moving heavy equipment here recently." They found scratches in the metal, all leading to one corner of the room. The floor plates there seemed newer than the others. "Help me lift this," Yu Jin ordered. Together, they pulled up the floor panel. Instead of pipes and wiring, they found a dark hole with a ladder leading down. "This isn't in any of the blueprints," Sung Min whispered. Their suit lights revealed a chamber about 20 meters below. They climbed down carefully, weapons ready. But what they found wasn't dangerous. It was amazing. The walls were covered with glowing diagrams and ancient writing. Cables ran from the lighthouse's power systems into strange machines that hummed softly. In the center stood a workstation covered in Hansol's notes and drawings. "Look at this," Yu Jin said, picking up a notebook. Hansol was trying to translate these symbols. He thought they were left by the first human space travelers. Sung Min examined one of the machines. "This technology, it's not like anything we use, but it's definitely human-made. The design style is just older, much older." They found more of Hansol's notes scattered around the room. The chief keeper had discovered that the quantum beacon wasn't just built on this site by chance. The ancient humans had placed something here, some kind of transportation device, and later generations had built the lighthouse on top of it without knowing. "These calculations," Yu Jin said, studying the papers. Hansol figured out that the quantum beacon was interfering with the older technology. That's what caused those strange signals they detected. Sung Min pointed to a particular diagram. "Look at this date." Hansol dated these machines to over 10,000 years ago. "That's impossible. Humans weren't supposed to have space travel back then. Unless everything we know about our history is wrong," Yu Jin replied. They found a final note in Hansol's handwriting. "The beacon is the key. The signals are coordinates. They're showing us the way home." Suddenly, The machines began to hum louder. The diagrams on the walls glowed brighter. The same strange colors they had seen in the security footage started to appear in the air around them. "We need to get out of here," some men shouted. But Yu-Jin stood still, watching the patterns form. "No," she said. "This is what they saw. This is how they left." She reached for her communicator. "Commander Du-Yun, we found something. Send Research Officer Mei down here immediately. I think we just discovered why this lighthouse was so important, and I think I know where our missing keepers went." The colors swirled around them, showing glimpses of impossible places, while the ancient machines continued their song of awakening. Mei hadn't left the hidden chamber for 2 days. She sat surrounded by Hansol's notes, ancient symbols, and humming machines. Dark circles showed under her eyes, but she couldn't stop reading. The truth was hidden in these papers, and she was close to finding it. Commander Du-Yun climbed down the ladder, bringing fresh coffee. "Any progress?" Mei nodded, spreading out several papers on the floor. Hansol wasn't just brilliant, he was right. "Look at these calculations. The quantum beacon network isn't just for navigation. It's built on top of something much older." She pointed to the glowing diagrams on the walls. "These are gate coordinates. The ancient humans built a network of quantum gates throughout known space. But something happened, and they abandoned the network. The lighthouses were built on these sites thousands of years later, without anyone knowing what lay beneath." "And the disappearances?" Du-Yun asked. "Not just our 3 keepers." Mei pulled up more files on her tablet. Hansol found records of other incidents throughout history. Ships vanishing in certain sectors, strange lights seen near space stations, people disappearing without a trace, all near lighthouse locations. The machines hummed louder as she spoke, as if responding to her words. The ancient symbols on the walls pulsed with soft light. The quantum beacons were interfering with the old gate network, Mei continued, slowly waking it up. Hansol and the others figured it out. They weren't taken. They found a way to activate the gate on purpose. Du-Yun studied the diagrams. Why? Where were they trying to go? Home, Mei said simply. The real home of humanity. These gates, they're not just for traveling between stars. They're a map leading somewhere specific, somewhere important. She showed Du-Yun one of Hansol's last notes. The beacons are lighthouses in more ways than one. They're showing us the way back to where we came from. Not Earth, somewhere older. The commander was quiet for a long time. Can you activate it again? Find where they went. Mei nodded slowly. Hansol left instructions. He wanted others to follow. But Commander, she hesitated. If what these symbols say is true, we're not just going to find 3 missing lighthouse keepers. We're going to find answers about humanity's true history. The machine's hum grew stronger, and colors began to dance in the air. The ancient gate was waking up again, ready to reveal its secrets. Commander Du-Yun gathered her team in the hidden chamber. Besides Mei, she had chosen Lieutenant Yu-Jin, Officer Sung-min, and 2 specialists, Engineer Ha-Won and Security Officer Min-Ki. This is volunteer only, Du-Yun said. We don't know exactly where this gate leads. Nobody moved. They all stayed. Mei stood by the ancient control panel, now connected to modern tablets. According to Hansol's notes, we need to match the exact conditions from when they left. The quantum beacon needs to pulse at this specific frequency. Ha-Won adjusted the lighthouse systems above. The machines in the chamber hummed louder, and the symbols on the walls glowed brighter. I found more disappearances in the records, Yu-Jin reported. All near lighthouse locations. A supply ship in 2157, 3 maintenance workers in 2199, a whole research station in 2245. They all saw the same lights before vanishing. How did no one notice this pattern? Min-Ki asked. They did, Mei answered. But every investigation stopped at the same point, when they found the ancient technology. Someone's been hiding this for a long time. The chamber filled with swirling colors. The team checked their equipment one last time. They wore special suits designed for quantum field exposure, carrying supplies for 3 days. Ready? Du Yun asked. Mireille nodded. The gate is almost aligned. Han Sol's calculations show it leads to some kind of hub, a central point where all the gates connect. Suddenly, all their tablets went dark. The chamber's lights flickered. The quantum beacon above pulsed faster and faster. This is it. Mireille shouted over the rising hum. The gate is opening. The air itself seemed to tear open, showing a tunnel of impossible colors. Through it, they caught glimpses of massive structures, too big to understand. Stay together, Du Yun ordered. Whatever's on the other side, we move as one team. The strange force that had taken the lighthouse keepers began to pull at them. But this time, they were ready for it. They had studied Han Sol's notes. They knew what to expect. As the gate pulled them in, Du Yun saw something in the swirling chaos, other gates opening in distant parts of space, all connected to this moment. The whole network is waking up, Mireille whispered in awe. Then the colors swallowed them, and the chamber fell silent once again. The rescue team materialized in a vast chamber made of black metal and pulsing lights. Massive windows showed the darkness of space, but the stars looked wrong. Too bright, too close. Everyone okay? Du Yun asked, checking her team. They all nodded, stunned by what they saw. The chamber stretched for kilometers in every direction. Ancient machines hummed with power. Holographic displays filled the air, showing maps of space they didn't recognize. Look, Yujin pointed to a distant platform. 3 figures in lighthouse keeper uniforms were walking toward them. Han Sol, Jaiho, and Taiwan looked tired but excited. They weren't surprised to see the rescue team. We've been waiting for you, Han Sol said, smiling. We knew someone would figure it out eventually. What is this place? Du Yun asked, looking around at the enormous structure. It's a hub, Han Sol explained. A central control station for the entire gate network. Our ancestors built it as a way to travel between the stars. But it's more than that. It's a library, a museum, a record of who we really are. Jaiho led them to a central platform covered in holographic displays. We've spent our time here learning. The things we've discovered. He shook his head in amazement. Humans didn't evolve on Earth, Taiwan said quietly. We came from somewhere else, long ago. The first humans built this network to explore the galaxy. But something happened, some kind of disaster. They had to abandon the network and retreat to Earth. They erased their own history, Han Sol continued. Started over, built new civilizations, but they left the gates, hoping that one day we would find them again and remember who we are. Mireille studied the displays, her eyes wide. The lighthouses were built on the old gate sites because some part of us remembered. Deep in our oldest stories, we knew these were important places. But why didn't they want us to find this sooner? Sung Min asked. They were waiting for us to be ready, Han Sol answered. The network only started responding when our technology reached a certain level. The quantum beacons were the key, proof that we had rediscovered some of our old knowledge. The team spread out, exploring the vast chamber. They found libraries of ancient data, star maps showing thousands of human colonies that had been lost to time, and machines that still worked perfectly after 10,000 years. We have to tell everyone, Min Ki said. Han Sol shook his head. Not yet. We need to understand what we found first. This knowledge, it could change everything. We need to be careful how we share it. Du Yun looked out at the strange stars. So what do we do now? Now, Han Sol said, we learn who we really are. 1 week after finding the hub, the team prepared to return home. They had filled countless data drives with information about humanity's true history. But more importantly, they had made a decision about what to do with it. We can't keep this hidden forever, Du Yun said, looking at her team gathered in the hub's main chamber. But we can't just announce it all at once either. Hansol nodded. The knowledge in this place could advance our technology by centuries. But it could also cause panic if people learn that everything they know about human history is wrong. So we do it slowly, Myra suggested. She pulled up a holographic display showing their plan. We released the technological discoveries first, one piece at a time. Let people get used to each advancement before moving to the next. The team had spent days copying the most important data. They focused on practical knowledge, better space travel systems, cleaner energy sources, and safer ways to explore the galaxy. The deeper historical truths could wait. What about the other lighthouses? Yujin asked. There are dozens of them, all built on ancient gates. We'll check them one by one, Du Yun decided. Make sure no other gates activate unexpectedly. The network is awake now. We need to control how it spreads. Jai Ho and Taiwan were staying behind with a small team to continue studying the hub. They had volunteered to be the first permanent researchers at the site. Remember, Hansol said, our ancestors left this place as a gift. They wanted us to find it when we were ready. Now it's our job to make sure we use that gift wisely. The rescue team made their final preparations to leave. The gate would take them back to the Flannan Isles Lighthouse, where a carefully edited story would explain their week-long absence. As the gate began to power up, Du Yun looked one last time at the vast chamber. In just a few days, they had learned that humans were far more than they thought they were. They had touched the stars long ago, and now they could do it again. The lighthouses were never just navigation beacons, Mayray said softly. They were signposts, leading us back to our real home among the stars. The gate activated, its swirling colors now familiar and almost beautiful. As they stepped through, each person carried a piece of humanity's greatest secret and the responsibility to share it at the right time, in the right way. The Flannan Isles Lighthouse would keep its quantum beacon burning, but now it served two purposes. For most ships passing by, it was just a navigation aid. But for those who knew the truth, it was a reminder that humanity's journey had only just begun again.